Hi, this is Chris Foreman from Madness, and you're listening to the Stateside Madness podcast.
Hi there, folks out there. I'd like you and me, Tommy McGuire and his combo.
Hello, and welcome to the Stateside Madness podcast, the one and only podcast of the official Madness American fan service. I'm Laurie, along with my co-host Polly, here to bring you news, reviews, and deep dives into the nutty sound of the British pop band Madness. Well, hello, Stateside Madness fans. Welcome back. I'm Laurie.
And I'm Polly.
And we've got a special Record Store Day themed episode for you today. But before we do, I believe we have some announcements for the communicator.
That we do. So, up first on the communicator, Stateside Madness wanted to extend congratulations to Jonathan Young and the now Nikki Young. Jonathan and Nikki were married on May 1st. Now, we have mentioned Jonathan maybe a couple of times, and he did appear on an episode from the House of Fun episode. But Jonathan is one of the admins at M.I.S. And so M.I.S. has been great friends to us here in Stateside Madness, and we could not let this go by without extending a congratulations to Jonathan and Nikki, who, coincidentally, brought together by their love of madness.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That is, in fact, how they met. Yeah.
Oh, well, so that's another relationship that we know of, because you remember we had Diane here in Chicago, who met her husband Andy at the House of Fun Weekender, and now Jonathan and Nikki. So, congratulations!
Absolutely.
I think I saw that our friend Mr. Scurf was the DJ for the reception.
In fact, he was.
That had to be a blast.
And also friend to the podcast, Darren Dixon.
Oh yeah.
Photographer there. So it's a small world in the UK Madness community. And they're all quite tight, all quite good friends.
It's too bad that he couldn't get the band to play.
Well, if you've seen his post on Facebook, then M.I.S and the Fezzes were the band. Now M.I.S touring with Madness quite often as a percussionist. So M.I.S and the Fezzes played, and I hear it was a fun time had by all.
All right.
Yeah.
So next up on the communicator, Polly, Madness have finally announced their next tour. It's called C'est la Vie 2023. It'll be taking place in November and December with special guests, the Lightning Seeds. I love the Lightning Seeds. I am salty times 10 here, because still no American tour dates, still no love for the American fans.
Yeah, we can hope. At this point, I don't even hint anymore.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed. Not saying anything.
Right. Well, that brings us to some important news about our podcast, Polly. And this is something that you and I have gone back and forth about for several weeks now. This was never intended to be a 3-year-long podcast, and we've been at this for almost 3 years. Now, when we started this, you guys might remember that it was at the beginning of the pandemic in spring of 2020, and they had just announced everything was going on lockdown, and the American tour at the time was postponed. So, Polly, you and I had sat down. We were trying to come up with a way to keep the fans engaged while we waited for the rescheduled American tour. And unfortunately, it got postponed a few times, then canceled altogether. Is it happening? Is it not happening? your guess is as good as mine at this point. But we've really kind of hit, I think, the ceiling as far as what we can talk about for a Madness-specific podcast.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. We've done plenty in the way of album deep dives, and we've exhausted them. We've talked to all sorts of people in the Madness sphere, and it gets harder and harder to book special guests. And so we're not necessarily running completely out of topics, but, it's on the verge of feeling forced and that we're just repeating ourselves. And that's not something we want. And that's not something we want to do. So what we're deciding on doing is kind of going on hiatus, waiting for something good to come up, and making it a little bit better than what a normal episode of the podcast might be. So what you might say is that we're going to put out specials on occasion that are a bit more fulfilling, a bit more interesting, a bit more in-depth. So we're going to go for quality over quantity from here on out.
Yeah, so you mentioned special occasions. For example, if there is a new album forthcoming, I'm sure we'll have an episode there. If we ever do get our American tour, again, knock on wood, I think that there might be some opportunity there. But, and I appreciate that we've had some really terrific guests. We've had a lot of guests from other bands within the two-tone sphere. But, first and foremost, this is a Madness podcast. And Madness is my true love here, So then for our final regular episode, Polly, we're doing a special episode related to the April 22nd Record Store Day release. And that is I Do Like to Be B-Side, the A-Side, Volume 3, which, Polly, I believe you managed to score a copy of. Is that correct?
That I did. So, thankfully, this volume was released as part of Record Store Day USA. So this is the second Madness Record Store release in the United States. So finally, we're starting to get some of that. Now, of course, the first one would have been Baggy Trousers, single release. And so, yeah, now we're lucky enough to have I Do Like to Be B-Side, the A-Side Volume 3. And what's great about that is all of us who are looking for Volumes 1 and 2, we've probably been priced out by now. People are wanting ridiculous amounts of money, Volume 1 in particular. Upwards of $200 if you're able to find it anywhere. And Volume 2, not that much better at about, $70, $80, maybe even more with shipping to get it here in the United States. So that's just a bridge too far for a lot of collectors. So kudos to BMG, finally releasing them in the United States, and we should be thankful for that.
All right, so let's do a track-by-track deep dive. There's 12 tracks total. Side 1, the first track is Round and Round.
I don't know whom to turn or remember where I've been. I had it just a minute ago. Now I've lost it in the din. It's so bright I just can't see this jargon in front of me. 6 figures on dotted lines.
All right, so most of these we've talked about in other episodes of the podcast. And Polly, I know we've talked about Round and Round being a Lee Thompson and Mike Barson composition. What do you think of this one, Polly?
I think it's, no wonder it's kind of a B-side. It just does not quite have that magic. Decent offering. I find that weak intro kind of is what I've got here in my notes. But otherwise, it's a fairly typical Madness song. All right, not great.
Okay. Well, so it does begin with that minor chord structure. And the lyrics, which one listener has said, retain uncertainty and underlying despair. If you listen to the lyrics very closely, around and around we go again. We do a little dance for the mortgage men. It feels like this was Madness talking about, hey, here we go again. We're going to put out another album. We're going to put out another tour, so we can pay the mortgage men, so we can get the money coming in again, like they're back on the hamster wheel, if you will, right? Going around and round again. And I think it reflects maybe a little bit of cynicism on their part, at least back in 99 when they released this. This was the B-side of the single for Love Struck.
Up next, then, it is We Are Love. Now, this is a Chas Smash composition and also a B-side to Love Struck. All right then, Laurie, We Are Love.
Yeah, I like this one because we've talked about this one before. John Reed, who is the band's biographer, called this a tense, punky collision of drums and guitar. I really like this one. This is a little bit of a deviation for Madness from the kind of music they normally do. But it's a jam. I like this one. What do you think of it?
Yeah, not that much of a fan. I just think it's too rock for Madness. There's a bit in there with a bit of vocal distortion that I think was no doubt influenced from the preceding decade where industrial was coming into its own. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, ambitious, yeah, but just
kind of a Manchester vibe to it, doesn't it?
A bit of that too, yeah. I guess that's what I mean. It's got too many elements going on for me to make it that cohesive.
All right. What's the next song?
That's you.
Oh, that's right. It is me. So the next song is another Chas Smash composition. That is Your Wonderful remix. Let's listen.
These are the days I love, and I've been happier than most, crossing England's coast to coast through your towns. And when I see the land, and I cry a salty tear for those who are not here on this day.
Okay, so this one was another B-side from Johnny the Horse. What do you think of You're Wonderful, Polly?
I love it. In this case, it is a bit more rock sounding than a typical Madness song. Chris has got some he's really taking something out of Angus Young's book with the guitar sound and tone in this. And he's, of course, on record numerous times as saying Angus Young is an influence, but then, of course, he gets very few opportunities to display that in the music that Madness does. So I somehow feel that this works really, really well. Now, we know that this was first played at Madstock 96, and as we've said previously, it's written as a tribute to the passing of Carl's father, but I can't help but hear this song and think of the timing of the wonderful album and not think this is a bit of a tribute to fans, too, at least so much as the repeating of You're Wonderful and its nostalgic and it's blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, a tribute to the fans. Hey, fans, you're wonderful. It's great to be here, right?
Yes, exactly. You'll have to cut out the blah, blah, blah.
Of course. So the curious thing about this is it's labeled as a remix, but to the best of our knowledge, it's the only mix of the song that exists. I kind of wonder why that word is thrown in there. And this song is actually the song that the wonderful album was named after, even though it didn't appear on the album. I do really like this one. And, I think that these last two tracks, again, really serve to remind us just how much Chaz brought to the band. I still think that they're missing it. I think that they're missing not having his songwriting contributions, not having his vocal contributions. He really was an integral part of the band.
And up next at a Barson composition, it is I Was the One.
I was the one that you promised to. It's true, through thick and thin. Am I the fool? And all the things you've done, but no one's really won at all of the time. In the back of my mind, feeling the grind, but it's never gonna bring me down. And now it's done.
All right then, Laurie. I was the one.
Yes, you were, Polly.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really care for this one. It's kind of like bubblegum pop to me, It's not my cup of tea. But I do love Chris's guitar. I think Chris's guitar on this one is fantastic. What do you think of this song?
Well, it's got a lot of the elements I really, really like. It does have a bit of vintage ska going on there. I enjoy the song until it tries to wind up. And it just gets very, very busy in the last 16 bars or something like that. A lot going on vocally, a lot going on instrumentally, and it's just doesn't trail off in the way you want a pop song in that vein to. So it gets a bit cluttered, and I don't care for that. But if I had to give it a pass-fail, definitely a pass.
Okay. So quoting John Reed again, he wrote that this song, quote, harked back to the skanking ska of old, all swirling organ and bouncing bass.
Yeah, very, very good organ sound that Barson has on that too.
Oh, yeah. It's very distinctive. I just don't care for the song. Okay. So next up, we have Dreaming Man. This one was another B-side from Johnny the Horse, and it was written by Carl and Chris Foreman. Let's listen.
Ocean, I'm the sea, I'm the eye of the hawk, the weed of the tree. I'm in the king and the joker too. I'm the spark in the flame, in the words of truth, yeah. I'm in the east, and I'm in the west. I'm in the stitching of a Kevlar vest, yeah. I'm everything that you see. I'm the words on the lips of Muhammad Ali.
All right. What do you think of Dreaming Man?
I'm all right with it. So, Dreaming Man, here we have yet one more B-side to Johnny the Horse. And with, I believe, Tomo on vocals, if I'm correct there. No?
No, it's Chaz. It's Chaz.
It is Chaz?
It is Chaz. And, it's really interesting because the first time I heard it, I'm like, who is this? It didn't sound like any of the band members. It kind of sounds like Chaz maybe after he smoked a bunch of packs of cigarettes, or like even, how you get morning voice, when you first wake up in the morning and your voice is kind of a little deep and creaky. That's kind of what this sounds like to me.
Yeah, and what I've noticed about it though is I think it's a very good pair. It definitely was reminiscent of Leah's crunch vocals, so that's kind of what probably tricked me. But it's such a great pairing with Johnny the Horse, I felt. So if you're looking out for a 45 and you've got the choice of the three versions, I would probably definitely favor for this one as the B-side.
And the beginning of this one definitely has echoes of London Calling by The Clash. Do you kind of hear that?
I do, and a nice nod to Muhammad Ali in the first couple of lines too. So there's a lot for me there in the song.
All right.
All right then. Up next, and I already know Laurie's take on this. We have talked about this before. So this is a Tomo and Woody composition. It's Elysium. All right then, Laurie.
Okay, so this was the B-side to the single Drip Fed Fred. Most of these singles are going to have multiple B-sides now, so especially since they were moving towards a digital release format around this time. Not my favorite Madness song. Lyrically, I like what's going on here. I mean, it's definitely about manic depression. And then there's that line, Elysium is everyone chipping at your cordiality. And that's a really, really well-written line. That is such a Tomo line. You know, those are the kind of words that he uses. What do you think of Elysium?
Well, I mean, I don't care for the piano in it. The way that, Barson, if in fact Barson wrote the piano lines, I'm assuming he did. I would gather that Woody and Tomo came in with the rough structure of the song. But his piano lines sound kind of prog rocky, and it does not really work for me. Sounds a great deal like Yes. And not something I tend to go back to too often. So, yeah, kind of, it, of course, it's very prominent too. So it doesn't, there's no escaping it in the song. Yeah, I find it,
Okay. Polly, flip the record over to side B, please.
In fact, I will then. So on to side B. What do we have first then, Laurie?
The first track is Light of the Way.
When I walk with you, there's a path that I take, leads me down to the shore where I rest, and I am not afraid. There's no fear in my heart, for I have seen the light of the way. With my feet on the ground, I will walk in the view.
Now, I always forget about this one, Polly. This is really one of the more obscure B-sides. It's another Drip Fed Fred B-side. What do you think of this one?
Well, I find it a little too country confessional, I guess, is what I would say. It's a bit church revival-y. It's just a lot of things I not only don't like, I'm really anathema to, so it's kind of like, I don't know. It's got that, a bit of a sing-song, funky-tonk hook to it, but
yeah,
I would never.
Okay, I feel similarly. In fact, I have in my notes that it has a country rock vibe to it. It was written by Carl on vocals, and I get that he was experimenting with a whole bunch of different musical styles before the band got back together in 99. I wonder if maybe this might have stemmed from like one of those Velvet Ghost sessions or something. But this is not one of the stronger tracks on this album, I don't think.
However, the next one is, I feel, and it is Skylarking. Oh, right then, Laurie, Skylarking.
It's not bad. This is a cover of an old Horace Andy song from like 72, right?
It is, although I think it was written by Justin Hine,
Okay.
who was on and off again partners with Horace Andy. So, it's definitely, it's a ska classic that I love a great deal. And they almost went a little bit further back with that, with the vocals and getting that true, like, Trojan sound of a bit echoey lead vocal and a way more echoey backing vocal on it.
He's got a very dance hall vibe to it, yeah.
Yeah, that's not something you even see a great deal in Madness records in general, is that strong use of echo. So I really like it. It's a very faithful rendition. For me, what's not to love?
Okay. Well, this was a B-side for Shame and Scandal. And then there's another B-side from Shame and Scandal coming up next. And that is Dreader Than Dread.
Some booze, some backy, a nice bit of brown. That's some way to spell camels.
Nah, dreader than dread. Nah, rougher than rough. Nah, dreader than dread. Nah, rougher than rough. Nah, dreader than dread. Nah, tougher than tough. Nah, dreader than dread.
All right, so how do you like them apples? Dreader Than Dread.
I do like it. I would never go as far as to say that this is superior to the original. Honey Boy Martin, that was just such a fantastic and iconic, I wouldn't even call Dreader Than Dread ska. Just straight up, I would say probably reggae. But I think it's just a fantastic version. They definitely breathed a lot of life into it. And when you were just mentioning dance hall, this is almost like a bit of dance hall, almost moving into a bit trance. I love it. It's fantastic.
Okay. I think it's silly. I think the original, it was, came from a very different place, and the original I think is fine, but I know I've said this before. I really don't think that our boys do well when it comes to reggae, and I think that we should leave the reggae to the people that do reggae. And so to me, this almost feels like a parody. I mean, I know that's not what the boys were intending. I know they were trying to get back to their ska roots and have a little bit of fun with it. But, I mean, even just singing about, a Dreader Than Dread, well, we're talking about, like, the dreadlocks and Rasta culture, right? I mean, and here you got a bunch of white guys singing about it. It feels like a parody to me,
Yeah, it's a peculiar choice, but then that whole album was to a certain extent.
It was.
But yeah, but of course, I'm on record, with saying I actually really do love the Danger Boy, Danger Boy. So of course I'm on record. So of course I'm on record from having talked about the Dangerman sessions on an episode as saying I really like that project, but it's very dicey and very risky to take classics, particularly this one, which is like, I'm not going to say it's like the equivalent of Hey Jude for, Rastas or anything like that. But there's a reason why people don't cover Hey Jude. Some things you just don't touch. However, I didn't say I liked it, and I do think they breathed a little bit of life into it. But I guess what I'm saying, your point, completely valid.
Thank you.
And then another version of a song off of the Danger Man sessions. It's Girl, Why Don't You? The dub mix.
Girl, I think I love you. I say, girl, won't you answer to your name? Yeah, girl, why don't you answer to your name? That you make me feel ashamed.
All right, then. What are you thinking, Laurie?
Well, so I'm wondering, is it called dub because it's a dub version of the song, or is it because it was produced by Steve Dub? I wasn't able to find any answers on that. I don't know. It could have been a little column A, little column B. I'm not sure. So I do know that this is a cover of a Prince Buster tune. I like the original version that Madness did of this one. I think that's a fun one. This one, I could do without all the bells and whistles, all of the effects. What do you think? I see you nodding.
Yeah, kind of the same thing. Dub is really, really tricky. Dub in general. The sort of genre and then subgenre, it would seem, of a lot of other types of music. And dub, when it does its job, adds life and danceability to a song. And I think it's best when it's done a bit sparsely. But this is, again, just another cluttered song with just a bunch of shit crammed in there. So
yeah,
it's kind of like, who's it? Really, who's it for? This isn't like this. Does not lack the subtlety of Scratch Perry dub versions of things. It's just blah. So yeah, you're right. The version that appeared on Dangerman sessions far superior.
All right. So next up, we have the B-side from NW5. This is Bittersweet.
I used to cry. I used to cry alone. Watch my face as I grow older. Reflect the world I've known. I used to wonder what it was that I did wrong. No amount of conversation could keep me holding on. The kind of love that I would need.
Okay. So Polly, this is a cover of the Undertones song, and I know you're a fan. How do you like this one?
I can't. Well, here's where I'm in danger of my old man brain and maybe saying something exactly contradictory from the first time we talked about this. But in listening, I just bought the new compilation of the 2 LPs of the Undertones, which was just released a couple of weeks ago, I think. So I was listening to both versions back to back, and I'm not going to say that the Madness version is superior, because Bittersweet, the undertone song, is a weird and wonderful song. It's very, very slow compared to the version we just heard.
Uh-huh.
And it's just, a great deal more orchestrated, and it's a great deal more melancholy. And then the Madness version, really not that melancholy at all. When Suggs has a great vocal delivery. It's perfect for his range. He doesn't get into any tricky territory, which happens to our boy sometimes. Infernal Sharky on the Undertones version, almost crying in some of the singing, So it's really, really two radically different songs as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, I do love the Madness version, but of course, equally love the Undertones version as well.
So I confess I'm going to have to go back and look up the Undertones version, because I know that I listened to this, back when we were doing, 2 years ago, we were doing an episode on this, but I don't recall it since then. As far as Madness songs go, this one is just okay. This one is kind of, to me, like a musical palate cleanser. You know what I mean? It's
yeah.
It's bland, it's inoffensive, it just kind of cleanses the musical palette from whatever came before so that you can move on to something else. I'm going to get a lot of hate from this episode, aren't I? All right, so Polly, we're almost at the end of the album.
That we are, and we're moving on to Rodette song. Now, you'll remember that the Kilborn and the High Road song, blah, 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 blah. Yes, we're almost at the end, and this would be the last offering. It is Rodette song. It's an Ian Dury and Russell Hardy composition. You'll probably remember it as a Kilborn and the High Road song. Let's take a listen.
Shaking on her shoulder, shaking on her ass. Ain't no doubt about it. She's a gamey lass, jerking with her elbow, clever with her knee. The way she move it over, does her best to please. Well, diction very bad, friction double rich, brazen little hussy, rock and rollin' bitch. When it come to business, take off like a jet. Rocking's her vocation, she's a very high road gal.
So we talked about this one in our Sexy Time for Madness episode, which, by the way, was one of my favorite episodes that we did, Polly. And I remember expressing when we talked about this that I was just kind of shocked at Suggs delivering some of these words. When Ian Dury delivers it, it's expected. But let's face it, Suggs has really got kind of a clean-cut, wholesome image. And for him saying some of these things that he's singing about, I'm blushing a little bit when I hear this. I mean, I think it's a very, very good, very faithful rendition of the song. We've talked about in other episodes how influential Ian Dury was on our boys. And I think that they're paying him tribute here, and I think that it's a worthy tribute. Just a little like, ew, when I hear Suggs singing about some of this stuff, like, it's like hearing your dad say something nasty, it's like, ew. What do you think of this one?
Well, I have zero qualms about that. I'm a huge Prince fan. So
Yes.
The fact that things get a little bit hypersexualized is not going to shock me in any way, shape, or form.
Well, it's not that. Prince doesn't bother me either. It's who it's coming from.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I don't know. This is when you're out talking with the boys and having some drinks or whatever. This is quite normal. So it's kind of like, I don't know. It's never gonna bother me. So yeah, like you said, very faithful rendition. it's perfect for a B-side. And this is what I wish more people did with covers, is because they want to do covers. Covers are fun. Covers are a great way. Covers are a great way.
That's staying in.
Don't do that. Put it after the closing song. Covers are a great way to, show your admiration for somebody that you appreciated growing up or coming up. But yeah, don't put them on the album, or put less of them on the album. But you got to put something on B-side. Boom, perfect marriage of function and form.
They don't usually do that.
No, they don't.
And it's a good way to end this album, though. I understand why they released this, right? I mean, there's some of this stuff has never been on vinyl, particularly from these digital-only releases. And there are collectors that love this kind of stuff. But, I mean, I'm starting to feel like a lot of these, especially a lot of these re-releases that have come out recently, I mean, I've been buying them diligently, but it's the same stuff. I mean, it'll be the same content. Maybe there's new liner notes from one of the band members or something, and that's fine. And, I mean, I buy it because, I want to support the band. But there's only so many discs of, for example, Absolutely that one girl needs. You know what I mean?
Oh, I hear you there.
Only so many discs of the Danger Man sessions that I need.
Yep.
So I guess that what I'm getting at is, I hear that they're working on new material. I really hope that they are. But I don't know. It's kind of hard being a Madness fan in the U.S. in 2023.
Damn straight. Yeah. You're not wrong there. It is hard. I think you answered your own question almost a little bit there when saying, collectors. I think this is exactly what the intent of Record Store Day is kind of all about. It's a bit of a, hey, started as a way to just draw attention to independent record shops and maybe give them a boost. And it also was a way to, at the same time, reward fans who really do love those deep cuts and rarities and things like that. So this is always going to be the type of thing that they're going to put out. And, kind of good on them for that, This isn't for casual record shoppers, Yeah. The limited releases and not intended, I don't believe, to really make the artists much money when they're doing it for Record Store Day.
Huh. Okay. Well, I mean, because it's all going to end up on eBay anyway. For Record Store Day.
Unfortunately. And, I'm lucky enough to live in an area where there's quite a few, but per capita, independent record shops where you do not need to queue up 4 hours before the stores open. You more or less just walk in at any point on that day and you stand a very fine chance of picking up the record you want. So this was effortless for me, but also I'm going to keep it. Yeah. eBay and people, profiteering off of buying rarities does leave one with a sour taste in the mouth.
Yes. Well, on that note, Polly, I really got to thinking after we had our last interview with the Crombies. Our listeners will remember that they're local to me. They're here in Chicago. And I think it was V, one of the band members, it was either V or Mike, had mentioned that they had tickets to the Madness Oakland show. And I had tickets to the Madness Oakland show as well. And then another one of the gentlemen was talking about how he had tickets to the Boston show. And what this really says, and I really hope that band management is listening to this. You have fans here in the Midwest who are willing to travel 2,000 plus miles to go see Madness and to make this huge trip out of it. And Polly, you were going to go to several. You were just going to fly from like what, Boston to New York to Philly or something like that. You were going to hit all of those.
I was going to all the shows. That's true.
So why no love for the American Midwest? Why, as you guys have heard me say before, they last toured Chicago in 1983. It has been 40 years. Boys, it's time, okay? I think we have proven ourselves as loyal fans. We want to see you here in the States. Yes, we want you to come to California. Yes, we want you to come to New York, but we'd love for you to hit some of the cities in the interior too. Your fans are here. We've been waiting. We've been doing a podcast for you for 3 years in anticipation. I am begging you, please, because none of us are getting any younger. And I don't know how many more years of touring they've got left. That's it. Rant over.
Well done. Yeah, I guess I would echo that by saying Stateside Madness. I don't mean the four of us who put together the podcast, the blog, the website, all the social media. We've been at this for more than 3 years now, and that's like I said, it's not the four of us. It's Stateside Madness. It's everybody who watches us, who listens to us, who reads the blog, who's on the social media groups and things like that. At this point, hundreds of people that we've been able to capture and bring in and sort of, make Stateside Madness. That's not counting all the people that have bought all these tickets that would have filled up, 1,500, 2,000 plus venues in 6 or 7 different stops that the original tour was supposed to make. So there's a lot of us. Please do come back. Please spend some time. Please do look around our lovely country. We are, for the most part, all older fans, and we've earned it. Please come to the United States.
Well, and a lot of us have introduced our, kids and our grandkids to this music as well. And a lot of the fans that we've talked to have talked about how much their families also like Madness. So, we'd love to be able to share this with the next generation. But you guys have to meet us halfway. You have to come. So I guess on that note, our closing song today is going to be Madness. You'll lose a good thing. So Madness, please realize that you have a good thing over here in the USA. All right. And we don't want you to lose that. On that note, we'd like to thank everybody who's helped us out in the past 3 years, the people that we've met, the people we've interviewed, the people who've participated in our fan engagement episodes, the people who've helped connect us with people that have helped us. This has been a huge undertaking. And Polly, I had no idea that this was going to blow up the way it did. I really didn't. How about you?
No, we've had a great deal of success. So, we trend in strange countries like Cyprus and Argentina. And, we've really reached this pretty far. And so far as we know, we've been rated in the top 10% of podcasts by certain rating agencies. We've had no short amount of success, and that doesn't happen without people listening. Even with long, boring rants. So thank you for all of that. And like we said, Stateside Madness isn't over. All the social media, the website, everything else is going to continue to happen. And we will be back with specials. We're just going to slow down the pace. We're going to get a little bit more me time. Laurie's on to bigger and better things professionally, so she's getting a little bit busy. I'm in the twilight of having my child at home because she's moving on to college. So we're taking a little bit of time, and we're going to only come back when we've got something very special for you.
So this isn't goodbye. It's just for now.
For now.
For now. And on that note, I see now I can't say it's a goodbye from me, but thank you again for listening.
And thanks again. Go get a beer, Stateside Madness.
Mistreat me, and I'll be good to you. 'Cause if you should lose me, oh yeah, then you lose a good thing. I'm giving you one more chance for you to do right. If you'll only straighten up, we could have a good life. 'Cause if you should lose I'm gonna march right out of that door. And if you don't believe me, well, just try this, then you lose a good thing. But just try this. If you should lose me, oh yeah, if you should lose